So, as I mentioned, it does all of that math and it creates reports for you based on whatever categories you want or your tags. And this is one that I created relatively recently for a trip that I took for a conference to Columbus, Ohio earlier this year. And it's showing me all of the different expenses for the trip because I created this as a tag. And since I tagged it, I can create it as a report easily with just a couple of clicks. Very handy. And this is an easy way if you have events that you attend regularly and you want to see how much they're costing you, or if you go to a conference and you want to add everything up quickly, Expensify lets you do that with just a few clicks. It's very, very simple. So as I mentioned, Expensify is great for more than just keeping track of your expenses, although it is great for that. It's also really great if you need to submit your expenses for review by someone else so that you can then get reimbursed, which is what you want if you're spending money on behalf of a company or an employer. So once you've created a report, you can then, with just a couple of clicks, say who you need to submit it to, attach a PDF if you need to attach more supporting information, attach memos about it, notes that help explain some of the expenses, and then send it. The reviewer receives your report along with copies of all of the electronic receipts. So they can see not just the report itself, they can get all of the supporting information that helps explain what these expenses were and why. And what's great is that with just another couple of clicks, the reviewer can then process the expense reimbursement right from there. They don't have to do anything else beyond just clicking on a couple of things, and then they are able to submit your reimbursement virtually immediately. The nice thing about Expensify is that it doesn't cost anything if you just are doing this a couple of times a month for a couple of people. It's charged based on the number of people that are receiving expense reimbursements. So if you use this just in your own business for tracking your expenses, it's completely free. If you're using this in a larger business, you will be charged, but I have to say it's pretty reasonable, and you can find the cost associated with Expensify on their website, which is expensify.com. So the benefits of working with Expensify to manage the papers that are receipts in your business. One great benefit is that you don't have to worry about keeping track of your receipts and thereby losing money on reimbursements. Since Expensify lets you get your information into it in a variety of ways, whether that's through electronic reimbursement, or electronic capture of information from your bank, or through snapping pictures with your cell phone, or texting your expenses in, you don't have to worry so much about the paper receipts anymore. It captures all that information without them. But in case you do have your paper receipts, you can integrate both of them together inside of Expensify. Expensify will let you capture both types of data within the program. Also, since it links with your bank, it automatically captures the electronic receipts and expenses. And if it misses some, and it may, you can import them or you can enter that data on your own. So you don't have to worry about losing data. And of course, you get to control how your data is organized. The expense categories that your information will be categorized into are completely up to you. If you're working with someone else to approve expense reports or get reimbursements, this makes it really easy. It takes just a few clicks to submit a report and then get reimbursed for it. And there is also integration with any other program that you might be using that's a popular one for keeping track of expenses or just your finances in general for your business, like QuickBooks and FreshBooks. So let's look at another tool. Let's talk about Evernote, which is one of my favorite talks to give because I love this program. It's so powerful and can do so much for you if you use it effectively. So Evernote is great for keeping track of all the little scraps of data that you might be littered with around your space. So for instance, let's say you keep a lot of Post-it notes, or you're writing things on the back of envelopes, or maybe you just have notebooks that you use that have your chicken scratch handwriting in it, like me, and you're trying to keep track of all that information, and what ends up happening for many people is they end up losing those pieces, and so the thoughts, the ideas, the notes get lost along with the papers. What we want to do is prevent that from happening. So Evernote lets you capture information, whether that's from your computer, from your smartphone, things you email in. You can text message things into Evernote. You can scan documents into Evernote, whether you scan using Office Drop or scan directly into Evernote. You can also use your digital camera and import pictures into Evernote. Basically, any way you can think of getting information or capturing it, you can put into Evernote. Then Evernote receives your data and imports it into essentially what is a very friendly, easy to use database called a notebook. Once things are in your Evernote notebook, you can then view them, you can share them, you can annotate them, and you can search for them. It's pretty awesome. How it works is this. You get your information in, and then you can organize it however you best see fit. So the Evernote metaphor is not folders for your data, it's notebooks. Notebooks you can create for different topics, for different people, for different things that you're working on, like projects. I have lots and lots of notebooks in my Evernote. I'm a big fan, and so I have things like a notebook for each client, a notebook for each project. I also keep personal notes inside of Evernote, restaurants that I want to try, events that I want to attend. These are things that are there for my reference. Once things are in notebooks, you can then organize them with different tags if you want, so that you can search for them in more and better ways. Each individual item inside of an Evernote notebook is called a note, and a note can contain pictures. It can be documents that you've dragged in, like PDFs or Word or Excel documents. It can be images. Basically, any type of document that's supported by the Evernote program can be a note. And then once you have a note, you can do things like search through them really quickly and easily. You can do keyword searches for any text that's inside one of your notes. Evernote also does really great optical character recognition. So let's say you've taken a picture of a restaurant that you want to try out in the world, and it has the name of the restaurant inside the picture. You can then search for that name, and it'll be recognized from within the Evernote program, and that image will come up when you search for it. A really handy way to use this particular feature is if you attend a trade show or networking event. And you know how at a networking event or a trade show you often have a name tag. If you take a picture of the person that you've met along with their name tag all in the same picture, you can easily search for that person again just by looking up their name. Since Evernote will recognize the text of their name will come up in the search along with their picture. Really handy. One of the great features about Evernote is that it's a blended online and offline tool. So what that means is your Evernote data is stored primarily at the Evernote servers. So that means you can access your stuff from any web browser or from a mobile phone, and also, of course, from your desktop computer. On your desktop computer or your laptop, you can download the Evernote software, which allows you to do some additional things above and beyond what the web software will let you do. But what that means is that you don't necessarily have to be connected to the internet all the time in order to use your Evernote notes or access them. So it's an online and offline solution, and if there's documents or notes that you want to keep private and have stored only on your computer, you can choose inside of the Evernote software to have what's called just a local notebook rather than an online notebook. Even though things are online, they're not automatically shared with the world. In fact, the default is that only you can see your notes. But one of the benefits of using Evernote is that if you have a particular note or notebook that you want to share with someone else, Evernote lets you do that really easily. So for instance, one of the ways I use this in my business is there are clients with whom I want to share information, whether that's tips and ideas, before and after pictures, or notes about a project that we're working on. Inside of Evernote, I can create a notebook, and then I can share that with the client. Then anything that goes inside of that notebook, my clients can automatically see anything that I've added or changed or updated. So, for instance, as a project changes and we complete tasks, I can have a note inside of that client's notebook, and then I can check the boxes off as we complete things. Also, one of the great things about Evernote is that it's incredibly mobile. You're able to access your data virtually from any device, whether that's a smartphone like an iPhone or an Android device or BlackBerry. Those all have applications or apps that let you use Evernote from within those devices. Or even if you don't have a smartphone, if your phone is simply just web enabled, you can still look up your information inside of Evernote on any web-enabled device. You can also get information into Evernote using any of those tools as well. Of course, you can always scan documents in as well, like for instance, using the ScanDrop software that OfficeDrop produces. You can scan your documents directly in. They can then be searched for and sorted and organized inside of Evernote. And then you also have mobile access to those documents as well, once you've scanned them and sent them in. Another option to get things into Evernote is to send your documents to Evernote. So you can forward emails, you can forward documents of any type, and they'll be stored inside of your Evernote notebook. The benefits of using Evernote. Evernote gets the papers off your desk, all the little scraps and bits of information, the things that you might be keeping track of but are losing right now. Evernote lets you capture all that stuff and centralize it in one database. And it's helpful sometimes to not even think of it as a database. It's just a place where all your stuff can go. And then you can access your stuff. You can search for it, you can organize it however you best see fit. One great thing about Evernote is that it works really well with other tools. Other paper management tools you might be using, like OfficeDrop, integrate directly with Evernote. So from within OfficeDrop, you can say send to Evernote, and magically it shows up in your Evernote account. Your documents can be wherever you want to use them. Evernote makes it really easy to access your stuff from wherever you happen to be, whether that's on your local computer, on your laptop or desktop, or on your smartphone, or from any web enabled computer anywhere you happen to be. You simply log into your Evernote account and you see all of your notes from one spot. Very, very handy. And as I mentioned, Evernote connects to other online services or tools that you might already be using, like OfficeDrop or Recall or TimeBridge, and lets you access and share the important pieces of information that you'll need to access across your different tools. So let's go through some examples for how you might want to use these different things. So first, let's say you went on a business trip. And if you go on a business trip, you probably will collect all sorts of pieces of information. Let's say you went to a conference. You'll probably collect receipts for expenses that you've spent money on. You probably will collect a bunch of documents like handouts from the meetings that you've attended. And you might even keep notes, maybe in a notebook or on scraps of paper, about the meetings that you've attended. Let's talk about how you can better manage these using paperless solutions. So first, your receipts you may not even need to keep because they'll be automatically captured by Expensify once Expensify downloads the data from your bank, especially if you're using a credit card. But let's say it didn't capture everything. Maybe you'll want to capture the stragglers, the ones that didn't make it into the Expensify system, using your cell phone. Again, you can text that information into Expensify or capture a picture of it. Then, before you even head home, you recycle or shred the receipts so you don't have to deal with them again, which is a really great way to reduce the amount of paper that you have to process before you even get back to your office. Then when you get back to your office, you can run your expense report without having to scan a bunch of stuff in or hunt receipts down. So this dramatically can reduce the amount of time that you spend processing receipts, and it can hopefully improve the way that you process your expenses so that you get all of your money back when it's time to ask for reimbursement.